lately I've been hearing J.J. McCarthy's name a lot. And people are telling me that the Patriots love J.J. McCarthy. Look, you have to take a quarterback in this spot. You don't know when you're going to be back in this spot to be able to take one. So you have to. People say, well, you could trade back. If you trade back and get extra picks, what does that do to your team for next year? Are you going to solve the position next year? You have to solve the position. You have to take a shot when you get this high. I do think they will take a quarterback. The latest intel you're getting is J.J. McCarthy might be that guy.
Um, so Brian Baldinger was on with us yesterday, and he said he thinks that McCarthy, from what he's hearing now, could go ahead of Drake May. Are you hearing the same thing, that McCarthy is kind
Yes.
of the consensus QB3 in this draft?
Well, it's
Like,
not consensus. It's not consensus. I think there's factions of this league that like McCarthy more than Drake May. There's factions of the league that like May more than McCarthy. Personally, I would take May over McCarthy. I think McCarthy's being overhyped in a big way. I don't see what everybody else sees. I would take him maybe at the back end of the first. I would not take him this high. Everybody says he's a leader and a winner and a leader. He had 18 guys from that team go to the combine. It's almost impossible not to win. He never had any type of situation in his career where he had problems. And by that, I mean issues where he had to rise above it all and carry the team. He won in high school. He went to IMG, which was loaded with D1 players, won there the national championship, went to Michigan and won there. And there was never really anything that would, derail him. And I think that when you go to a team like New England, it's going to be tough for you. How does he handle it? And that's why I think I would take Drake May instead.
Is all of this McCarthy? Because like Pete, like you'll say, and then we'll have like Eric Eager will say the same thing, and Brian Baldinger will say the same thing, and great guests, football evaluators we have on. No one has come on our show, and I don't think I've heard anyone say JJ McCarthy should go in the top 3 of the draft. Everyone's like, oh, I have him ranked in like the bottom half of the first round. He's a second round pick. No one's saying he should go top 5, yet everyone says he is going to go top 5. Like, I'm worried that this is like the banana in the tailpipe, right? That this is going to be NFL draft comes and goes, right? The first round comes and goes, and McCarthy either goes way later than expected or doesn't even go in the first round. Like, is that a possibility? Or do you
No,
feel like lock he's going top 10?
no, he's going top 10. He will go top 10. I don't think it wouldn't shock me to see him go third or fourth overall if there's a
What's the
move made by
disconnect?
Arizona.
What's the disconnect, you think, between like people like you and like Baldy and like people that are really respected with their evaluations? What's the disconnect between like you guys and the NFL in this sense with JJ McCarthy? It's just like weird to me.
You know what? You know what I think this is a case of? It's a classic case of one scout told two and two told four, and they went back and did their work and said, hey, you know what? I missed this. I like this about him too. And they convinced themselves, and then four told eight, eight told 16, and it just mushroomed. And it happened in the media too. Anybody who watched Michigan last year, do you just discount the game he played against Bowling Green? Put that tape on, and you tell me if you see a first round talent playing against Bowling Green. He was awful. And there were so many games, Nick, where you looked at him, he said, there's nobody near him when he's making the throw. And Brady Quinn, who works with me, thinks he's going to be a good NFL quarterback. I don't. I think he's going to. I think he's going to be serviceable at best. And there are a lot of reasons why I believe that. So I don't understand the phenomenon. It's really. Would I take him over Michael Penix even? The answer to that question is no, I would not. But I know he's going before Michael Penix. So I just don't understand it. But I've been around the league so long where I've seen these guys who didn't believe in him during the season and post-season and draft process, they've all talked themselves into it. And I think that has a lot to do with it.
When was the last time, Pete? And again, like you have been doing this a long time, right? Because you're really old.
Really
When was
old.
the last like oh no, like extremely old? When was the last time you remember like a chasm kind of like this wide between you and other like evaluators of talent and like what the NFL thinks in a quarterback?
Well, I'd go back to last year if you want to go to the first overall pick. For guy, I might have been on an island on that one, but I was not standing there screaming to take Bryce Young when he's 5'9", 175 pounds. I mean, I just couldn't see myself doing that. And I think it played out that way. I was all in on Will Levis. The NFL was not. Well, Will Levis had a good rookie season for a rookie quarterback who was thrown into the fire. And I think he's going to be a big time player in this league. So there's a lot of times where what I see and look, let's go back to Josh Allen, Nick. There was a Josh Allen. Nobody liked Josh. You had to
Everyone
look.
hated Josh Allen. All the
Oh my
Twitter cult,
God!
all the sheep, all thought Josh Allen was
Team
terrible.
and the teams too. The teams didn't love him either, and yet there were guys I trusted in this league, and myself being one of them. That when you watched him, you could see it was going to happen. So yeah, it's happened a lot. This is just weird because it's almost like they won a national title, and then everybody jumped on the McCarthy bandwagon. Which quarterback wins? I always say that's not a stat. Look, that team, if you had taken Drake May and put him on Michigan, they would have been a better football team than what they had J.J. McCarthy, in my mind.
But I want to go lightning round with you, Pete, here to close our NFL draft content for today. I have a couple of questions that I think sports bettors would like to know the answer to, or at least like maybe if you don't have the exact answer, just what your opinion is. Question number one, are you ready?
Let's go.
Give me a surprise top 15 pick, top 16 pick, like top half of the first round pick that people are not expecting will go there, that you think has a chance to slide into the early portion of the draft.
Brian Thomas. I think when teams look at his skill set and his ability to get better, which he did, and his ability to get the deep ball, I think he's one of those receivers that most people have at the back end of the first round who could go in the top 15.
I know you love Brian Thomas out of LSU, and I think who was talking about this like what was it today on the show or someone recently, like two receivers from the same school both going in the first round, and both are awesome with Neighbors and Brian Thomas. Second question for you in the lightning round. Everyone assumes that the top three receivers will go in the top 10. You think that it'll be Harrison first, then Neighbors, then Odunze. Does Rome Odunze definitely make it to the Chicago Bears at pick number 9, or could he go sooner than number 9?
Oh, he could go sooner than number 9. Again, if you look at the way it plays out, if the Cardinals took a receiver, the Giants need a receiver, and then you could see, somebody else moving into that spot and eyes one of those receivers that goes up and get one. So yeah, he could go before number 9, no question.
But do you think he will go before number 9, or do you think he'll be there when the Bears are on the clock?
I think he's going to be there when the Bears are on the clock.
Yeah, so I thought I'm gonna do a little more investigating on that, just off what Baldy said yesterday, that teams are talking about Odunze like he might be the best receiver in the draft.
Well, and there's been some people picking apart Neighbors a little bit. You saw the one report Tony Pauline had about character concerns, and so you hear some of that rumbling, and I think maybe Odunze is probably a little bit cleaner in terms of that kind of stuff, and so I think that has something to do with it as well.
Yeah, so Harrison, Neighbors, Odunze, Pete thinks in that order. We all think Joe Alt will be the first offensive lineman off the board. How do you think it shakes out after that? If Joe Alt's going to go first, what do you think the order is in terms of the rest of the offensive linemen that are going to go early in this draft?
I think it's Fraga next, and then Bashano after that, and then probably Latham, Mims in terms of the tackles. But I think you're going to see there's a chance the Oregon center goes in the first round. I think there's a real chance that Graham Barton from Duke goes in the first round. In fact, if I'm Tampa Bay and he's sitting there, I'm picking him, and he's going to be my starting center because they had problems at center last year. But he can give you position versatility. He played left tackle in college. He's played guard. I think he can play guard or center in the NFL and be a really good one. So I think you're going to see a lot of offensive linemen. You could see 5 or 6 tackles, 2 center/guard in the first round.
Who will the first defensive player drafted be?
Dallas Turner.
Dallas Turner is the favorite in that market. Yeah, Dallas Turner is the favorite in that market.
I would go 8. I think it's like I said earlier, I think it's a question of whether they go corner or pass rusher. And if it's pass rusher, I think it's Turner. And if it's corner, I think it's Mitchell.
Over or under 4.5 quarterbacks selected in the first round?
I'm going to go over. I think somebody, if if the team's in the 20s or whatever, if Denver doesn't trade back or the Raiders don't trade back, somebody's going to come back in and get one of those guys. I think they'll come back and get Penix, and maybe even somebody comes back in and tries to get Bo Nix. And I think you're going to see 5. I think you'll see 5.
Will a running back be selected in the first round?
Absolutely not. No way.
Is there even this is a terrible running back class, right? That's why we saw the running backs get those deals in free agency.
No, there's actually a lot of good backs in this class, but you're not going to take them in the first round. And you're going to be surprised at how good some of those guys are. It's, for example, Trey Benson's coming off a knee injury, had a major knee injury at Oregon, played last year at FSU, was very good, but still has injury issues. Brooks, probably would have been the top running back in the draft class, coming off an ACL. But those guys, if they're healthy, they're big-time players. So I think you're going to see good backs. They're just not going to see any in the first round, nor should you.
How many